I tend to work, on my instinct and try to find a way that the music can be symbiotic to the picture and to the story. The score is there to help translate the concepts of the film. You have a story to tell, and it's already there for you. The director gave it to you, the screenwriter gave it to you, so you have to tell the story musically. On the one hand, sometimes you're very subtly, stirring the pot, and you don't necessarily need to get in the way of the actor's acting. Sometimes you get a music-only moment where you're getting to comment on, something that's just happened or is about to happen. When I first started, I had an enormous amount of freedom. They sent the film over, I took a look at it, and, fortuitously, I guess, I was inspired right away. And so I sat down actually the day I got the film, and I started working and just trying to throw ideas around, see what would come back and see what things were starting to work. But yeah, to be fair, I had probably more creative freedom than I've ever had, actually, in my career. I actually like the way that Timothy Olyphant portrays a character. That was the first thing I reacted to, and he felt very precise. The first thing I thought of was like a watchmaker. Everything is perfectly in sync with his environment. And so the first cue I worked on was an action cue. It's like a hotel escape sequence where he's very methodical about his way of, getting out of this particular bind. That was the first thing. I started hearing clocks, actually, because we're talking about the precision of a watch and all of these sort of ticking time bomb kind of elements that are all very rigid. So that was actually where I started. 47's theme was the first thing that I wrote. It's actually more like a riff. It's not like the big Hollywood tune or anything. It's just it's a very mechanical, precise ostinato that goes on and sort of defines his character musically. So 47's theme actually started as a string riff, very short, very tightly played string motif. And I knew there were going to be electronic elements in the score, so that's sort of my rhythm section, and then the orchestra is doing this very relentless, methodical ostinato that sort of loops back into itself. It's cyclical, because that's his method. He's a mechanical killing machine. It gets used in many different ways in the film. It was conceived as an action piece, but then sometimes it can do intrigue, and it can also, at one point, actually counterplay against for lack of a better term, the love theme. It's not like a traditional love theme in that it ends with this big, happy thing, because it isn't. This is a doomed relationship, and we know that from the outset. I didn't want it to have like a pure Western approach. There's of course an orchestra, but I wanted it to feel like maybe slightly alien, because 47's sort of trying to connect with her. She's obviously trying to connect with him, and they're both lost souls, really. The role of music in an action movie is quite a bit different from other genres in that. It's less about the subtlety and what's going on inside the character. It's more about the surface of the picture, what exactly is happening. It's much more in sync, in that regard. And so you're trying to get as much impact out of the music as you can. I think it's a little bit different in this film from what you'd expect because it's all slightly more laid back. It's not frantic action. He's got a method, he's got discipline, and so it's all very rigid the way that, the music is played out. Another thing that I wanted to do with the score was have a hybrid of this orchestra, this electronics, there's a slight choral element, and there's brass, and so the orchestra gives him his heart, the choir gives him his size, the brass, gives him his balls, really, and the electronics give him his methodical, mechanical precision. And so there's a great deal of electronic elements that bring in this texture that, takes it out of the realm of just a traditional film score.